Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can perform object tracking in ZEN using a module from APEER, which is the online cloud platform. And this module on APEER is called blob tracking. It's designed to track segmented objects as a function of time and generate some reports. And we're going to see the process here. But first, when it comes to object tracking, like I just mentioned, segmentation is step number one. And these objects can be organelles, they can be cells, and they can be molecules, or they can be non-bio examples. But the key here is segment them into separate objects and provide that as an input to your tracking module. And in many cases, for example, in fluorescence microscopy, segmentation can be a bit easy because you already have fluorescence markers, and you probably just need a OTSU-based thresholding followed by watershed segmentation. But in some cases, you may need deep learning to segment your images, or just regular machine learning, which is also available as part of ZEN. So either way, get your objects ready, meaning segmented as individual objects, and then supply them as input to this tracking module. So let's follow this process just by, let's start by looking at APEER and then jump into ZEN. So let's open APEER in a browser. So you just type www.apeer.com, APEER.com. If you haven't signed up before, go ahead and sign up and log in. And as soon as you log in, if it's your first time, please get familiarized with the platform, because you may find other tools to be useful, not just the tracking module. We have a few other modules and you may find them to be useful. So first of all, a couple of highlights that I should mention before jumping onto the tracking module is the machine learning workflow. Again, I just mentioned about tough to segment images. Those images may need deep learning, and here are the tools to segment those. Of course, you need a few images that you need to annotate. And once you annotate them, you can train them using deep learning and take that trained model and segment them on APEER or inside the ZEN using the IntelliSys interface. That's a separate discussion, but I just want to make sure you're aware of this toolkit. Now, what we are going to look at is public modules. Under public modules, we are going to look for tracking module. This is the one we are going to import into ZEN. So let's click on the blob tracking. And this is the module that we are going to execute via ZEN. So for this specific module, the input it expects needs to be in the OME TIFF file format. So whatever processing that we do in ZEN, the final stage, we want to convert that segmented image into OME TIFF file. And ZEN has a way for you to do that, to save your image into OME TIFF. And then we are going to use that as input for our tracking module. So that's one thing we need to remember. The other thing is tracking algorithm itself. If you have a rather random walk type of objects that are moving in a random fashion, then Brownian motion is probably the preferred tracking algorithm that you would like to use. If not, if they are moving in a directed movement, then distance-based can be a good choice for you. I recommend you to go through this entire documentation just to get a bit more familiarized with exactly what's going on and what the requirements are. So eventually, this is the module we are trying to import into ZEN. Now let's jump into ZEN to make sure we have everything correct. First of all, we are going to use the interface that's available as part of applications called APEER On-Site Module Manager and Module Execution. And one thing I should mention is ZEN, if you have version 3.2 or later, this is possible, and please make sure you find this. If you have an older version of ZEN, you may not have these options. Even if you have the newer version like 3.2, 3.3, or 3.4, executing or downloading the modules requires a license, and this is not expensive. So please go ahead and talk to your account managers to get this license activated, meaning executing APEER modules into ZEN. And I definitely recommend that. And for those of you who don't know what ZEN is the software that's used to control Zeiss microscopes, and also it has a lot of analytical tools. And it is, of course, there is a free version. Just search for ZEN Lite, ZEN, ZEN, LITE, and then go ahead and download that. But again, like I mentioned, to execute the modules locally, you do need the license to download the modules. But it's worth downloading the ZEN Lite and then exploring other tools because it has a lot of image analysis tools in general. Okay, now getting back to those of you who already have access to ZEN and know how to work with ZEN, a quick note: if you go to Tools and Options, this is where you'll see APEER, and go ahead and link your APEER to your ZEN. The way you do that is go ahead and click on this link up here that says Client Keys, and it takes you to a page where you can generate your own key and then copy and paste it under this API key. As soon as you do that, when you hit OK, your APEER account, your specific APEER account with your username is connected to your ZEN. Okay, now we are ready to download the tracking module. How do you do that? Now you go down to APEER On-Site Module Manager, click on Download Modules from APEER. Since I already am connected to my account, it shows me all the modules that I have access to. The ones that I built myself, and also the private public modules, and also any shared modules by my collaborators, for example. So here you can type tracking or blob tracking. Let's go ahead and type tracking right there. CKING, and then it should show all the tracking modules. And then blob tracking is the one that we want to download. Select it, say OK, and it should show up right here in the list. The first time you execute the module, it's going to take a little while because that module needs to be downloaded. All the dependencies need to be downloaded. This may take a few minutes, and the subsequent runs should be a bit faster. But for now, we are all set. We are all set to execute this, but we don't have an image that's ready. So let's get the image ready first. Okay, so which one? Let us open our position one, the same file that we looked at in the previous video, if you have watched that, on this same topic, except performing tracking on APEER itself. Okay, so this is the file we are going to use. As you can see, this is a time series. We recognize this one cell right there, our object right there. That seems to be pretty much stable. Okay, let's keep an eye on that one. Now let us segment this, right? I mean, what do we need to do? We need to segment it, watershed to separate the objects, and save it as OME-TIFF file. Then we have everything ready for our tracking. Module. So how do we do that? There are many ways to segment this. You can use IntelliSys, you can use many ways, but let me just show you one way here, which is, let's go to image analysis and create a new image analysis setting. Let's just call this for tracking. Yeah, because we're going to use this for tracking. Let's create a new image analysis setting and then hit setup image analysis. Now, we're not going to do a lot of things here. All we need to do is OTSU segmentation and watershed. So let's keep going until we find that section. Let's go next right here. So here in the image analysis wizard, we are at a step called automatic segmentation. Go down, click on automatic, and we want OTSU, right? OTSU threshold right there. And once it's done, we want to separate the objects using watershed. That's it. And you can play with this setting. You can go through and you can see if that's working fine for your type of image. For now, this looks good to me. So let's go ahead next, and finish this off. Next, and there's not much we need from this analysis pipeline. So go ahead and finish this. What we have done is we set up an analysis pipeline saying that, hey, whenever you get an image, this is the pipeline that I want you to follow. Now let's go ahead and use that analysis pipeline. The way you do that, let's go to processing. And what do? We need image analysis right here, and let's analyze to label image. So it converts it performs the analysis, and then it generates this labeled image. So analyze to labeled image, and let's select our input, the only file that's open, and under parameters, we need to select the setting for tracking. This is the one we just defined. That's it. Go ahead and apply. Okay, so it applied this analysis setting to all of my 146 different frames in this time series. And now that's it. I mean, when it did the analysis, it did the thresholding and watershed, right? So we just need to save this as OME-TIFF and we're all set. So how do we do that? Go to File, Export, Import, OME-TIFF Export, And here are the parameters. First of all, let's select which file we would like to export. It's the one that we just performed analysis. The result of the analysis. And parameters wise, I'm going to leave everything as is, not much to change. Again, you can have a quick look at the screen to see if these settings match yours. And let's apply. Okay, so this should be as part of my folder right there. Just got saved. And let's go ahead and close everything just to make sure that the OME TIFF looks okay. We can leave that open. And let's open our OME TIFF file just to make sure that this is still time series. And everything looks as it's supposed to. Okay, so we have our OME TIFF right here. This is ready. I mean, we did all of this. This has nothing to do with tracking. This is basic segmentation and object separation. And if you have other methods, go ahead and do that. Okay. The point is, you can even complete this step in ImageJ if you would like to, although ZEN is much easier, much more user-friendly, I should say. Okay, now that we have this, let's go ahead and apply this tracking module. Let's jump to applications. We know where the tracking module is. And let's go down to on-site module execution and select the blob tracking module we just downloaded. And Brownian model, the same user interface that you would see on APEER will show up in ZEN. Okay, so Brownian motion, and we know all of these, and select these appropriately based on the object size that you are trying to track. I'm going to leave everything default for now and select my input to be the OME TIFF file that we have right here. That's it. It's that simple. Once you have everything ready, you just execute that from within ZEN and go ahead and execute the module. And as I mentioned, the first time it takes probably a couple of minutes, depending on your internet speed, for it to download the dependencies. But after that, you don't even need an active internet connection. You just disconnect, unplug it, and then you can run these modules locally. This is why I think it's worth putting in how much ever it costs, and this is not an expensive license, let me mention. So please talk to your account managers if you really think this is useful. We have denoising modules on APEER, and we have the tracking, and more will come. So, and you can write your own modules. So it may be a good investment for you. Okay, so there you go. It took a few seconds, and the module execution state, it's finished successfully, which means it will display all the output results here in addition to storing them in the along with the original image. As you can see, when I open the results folder right there, it has all the results, including the CSV files and the HTML file, which ZEN 3.4 definitely opens these HTML files. So let's go ahead and check it out. So the CSV file, there you go. This one is report per object, meaning if we have how many ever objects, like 128 objects right there. For each object, you have the tracking duration. How many frames did it actually exist? For example, I don't know, this number 5. It's there for 146 frames, and number 15 is also showing up in 146 frames, meaning they are in the frame for most of the time, for all the time here, and the mean speed and track length and a bunch of other parameters. And we also have report per frame. What's going on within each frame? Yeah, what is the coordinates of each object and so on. And finally, the HTML file that you can open within ZEN now in the new version. So here is tracking ID for object number 1. If I click on track object number 5, I think this one existed for a while, and this one did not move by a lot. Yeah, I wonder which one tracking number 5. If you also wonder, you can go back to the image result right there. And if you don't see much, that is probably because of the display settings that you have. Let's go ahead and set this to min max. In fact, you can even move this all the way down to make them visible, and right there, and change the colors to something that makes this a bit more visible. So let's change that to yellow, change this to green. And if you look at this, this is our object number 15. So if we plot object 15, this is the other one that did not move at all. So let's go ahead and, let's go ahead and select our object 15. Yeah, as you can see, even the object 15 did not move. Object number 5, again, if you can spot it, go ahead. Yeah, I think this is object number 5 right there. And if you keep moving, object 5, as you can see, did not move. It stayed right there. Object 15 stayed right here. And you can see all the tracks. Okay, so I think this shows you how powerful the combination of APEER and ZEN is, and how you can use the tracking workflow, or tracking module, I should say, as part of your ZEN. So you don't have to upload any images to the cloud. It's just that you're executing everything locally. So keep watching this channel if you're watching these videos on our YouTube channel at APEER Micro, like our APEER YouTube channel. And do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much.